Hello, I'm Rob, welcome back to vidIQ, and in this video we're going to talk about how YouTube has found yet another way to steal some of your revenue. Is that clickbaity enough for us? I want to first of all cover this YouTube tax update in three broad brushstrokes because first of all, I am not a financial expert or a tax advisor. Please don't take any of this as professional or legal advice. First of all, if you are a content creator in the US and you have monetized your channel, then this shouldn't impact you in any new financial ways because you're already part of the US tax system. However, if you are a creator from outside of the US, you need to take action so that any potential tax implications are limited to a small amount on your channel. Furthermore, if you are monetized outside of the US and you take no action from what we're about to talk about, then very soon, in a couple of months, you could be hit by a 24% tax on all of the revenue you earn on your YouTube channel. Now, I do want to add that YouTube themselves have done a fantastic explainer on this, exactly what's happening, exactly what you need to do, and many of the frequently asked questions. Do make sure to check out this video now, if not after watching this video. And let me just clarify, of course, this is not a new way for YouTube to steal some more of your revenue. But the way they've done it still grinds my gears as a creator. If this tax update does impact you, YouTube should be sending you an email similar to this if they haven't already done so. And yes, just to reiterate, this is the headline statement you need to pay attention to. If your tax info isn't provided by May the 31st, 2021, Google may be required to deduct up to 24% of your total earnings worldwide on YouTube. So just to be clear, if you don't follow any of YouTube's instructions on updating your tax info, then in, let's say, July 2021, you earn $100 from ad revenue, super chats, memberships, all of the YouTube monetized mechanisms, then YouTube could potentially take $24 of this for tax purposes. No doubt that has got alarm bells sounding off in your head, right? Well, let's get into the detail a little bit more. Google has a responsibility under Chapter 3 of the US Internal Revenue Code to collect tax info from all monetizing creators outside of the US and deduct taxes in certain instances when they earn income from viewers in the US. With that in mind, let's take another example, and bear with me, this gets a little more complicated. You earn $100 in July 2021, but you've supplied the information to YouTube about your tax info, and of that $100, you earn $20 directly from US viewers through whatever it is, ad revenue, super chats, memberships, and so on. You are only taxable for that amount of money, and let's say again, for argument's sake, the tax rate is 24%, but it could be different. Ultimately, what you're paying in this example is $4.80 tax on the US ad revenue. So obviously there is a lesser of two evils here. If you do absolutely nothing, YouTube will almost certainly tax you 24% on your worldwide earnings. If you do fill out the information that YouTube needs, then you will be probably taxed some amount on only your US earnings. And even then, some of you may not be taxed at all. This is because the US has what are known as tax treaties with certain countries. For example, the US has such close business relationships with Canada and the UK, there can be 0% tax taken from income. For other countries such as Mexico and South Korea, the rate is 10%. Some countries don't have any tax treaties with the US, so the percentage may be completely different. What you need to do is some research and find out what it is for where you live. Now, on top of this, just because you're in one of these countries with a tax treaty with the US doesn't mean you're automatically eligible for these tax breaks. As well as filling out the tax information for YouTube, you also need to fill out tax information for the US Inland Revenue Service, or IRS. Now, this usually comes in the form of a W-8 Ben form, but this is where I'm going to step back from the advice and suggest to you that you talk to a tax expert who's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. You may get some help with this part of the process when you submit your tax information to YouTube. This is done through AdSense, of course, even if you are part of an MCN. To make sure this information is 100% accurate, let's take it directly from YouTube's video.
Here's how you find it. In AdSense, go to Payments, and then Manage Settings. You'll see an option to manage your US tax information there. You'll be asked a series of questions to determine the appropriate tax form. This online tax form will be available in your selected AdSense language.
And yeah, as per usual, not a very popular video from YouTube. Now, something else that I must add at this point, which is really important. All of this only applies to the US aspect of tax on your revenue. You will still be charged tax on the income in your own country. For example, yes, if you earn $100 on YouTube, then the US is going to take a small little cut of that from all of the US revenue earned. But in your home country, there will be tax rules, which means that the government there can take a slice of that income, depending on what your tax brackets are and so on. That's where it's going to get even more complicated. Again, talk to a tax expert. None of this has changed, by the way. You should always be declaring any income you make from YouTube to the tax authorities in your country. All right, so I think we've successfully covered the beginner's guide of the what, when, how. The next question is, why is this happening? Well, it goes back to this statement. Google has a responsibility under Chapter 3 of the US Inland Revenue Code to collect tax from all monetizing creators outside of the US. Now, admittedly, I've only done a light bit of research here, so please, tax experts, hit the comments if I'm wrong. But it looks as if the US are introducing these changes as of 2021. So basically, Google/YouTube are complying with US law, which they are very keen to do these days, thanks to previous transgressions. Thank you very much, Copper FTC, and a $170 million fine. So if you are looking for someone to channel your anger towards, send it to this guy. This is Mike Rotunda. He was a wrestler in the 1990s who was otherwise known as Erwin R. Shyster, or IRS. And for the purposes of this video, I think it's appropriate. Come on, you know I'm a lapsed wrestling fan.
Well, just by looking at this crowd, I can tell that there's not anyone in here that doesn't cheat on their taxes.
Boo! All right then. So once again, it looks like on the surface that YouTube are picking at a creator's income. A few dollars there, some tax implications here. It's all starting to mount up. But on this occasion, it looks like Google, YouTube are simply complying with new US laws, and they're trying to get ahead of it before it turns into a complete PR catastrophe. However, because of past history with YouTube when it comes to revenue, adpocalypse, FTC, creators are automatically blaming YouTube. And so this is where YouTube have to get their communication with this spot on. And I don't feel as if they've done a very good job of this so far. Some people have seen this email with a reasonable amount of information. Some people have seen a tweet and jumped to conclusions. The official blog doesn't have any information currently about it. The YouTube studio is showing this warning to some creators, but it just leaves them thinking, what? I suddenly have to pay taxes now? Obviously, it would be a lot better if everybody got exactly the same information at roughly the same time. So how I might do this is by forcing everybody to watch this excellent YouTube explainer video the next time the creator goes into the YouTube studio, because every active creator should be doing this on a regular basis, right? And by the way, I'm sure this is a terrible idea at scale, but I don't have to worry about that. I can just complain about YouTube not getting the communication quite right. Also, consider this. In the long term, this might be a good thing because YouTube, with their ability to reach so many people, are forewarning you of significant changes to US income. The information you provide to YouTube is going to cover you for everything you directly earn from YouTube, be it ad revenue, memberships, super chats, and so on. But all of the income that you earn off of YouTube, whether it be merchandising, brand deals, selling your products and services, you may need to think about that as well. YouTube are not responsible, nor do they care about any of that income, but the IRS in the US still do. Yeah, get a tax advisor or an accountant to help you out with all of this. As for all of you US creators who watch this, even though none of this really applies to you, thanks for the watch time!